When Cannondale decided to join the eMTB world, they released their Neo line of bikes with two models available. The longer travel version is their Moterra. Here we've got the Moterra 2, which retails for $7,000 and is right in the middle of the 4 bikes that they offer in the Moterra line. This is a 160mm travel bike front and rear, and it is designed to be very versatile, well-rounded, and kind of an ideal bike for a broad spectrum of riders. It's not like the super aggressive, gravity sled that, you've got to be an elite level rider to enjoy. It's something that will suit a broad variety of riders in a broad type of conditions. So at the heart of the bike is a Bosch CX Performance Line motor. It's got 250 watts of power with a 625 watt-hour battery. Cannondale has incorporated the motor into this carbon fiber frame low. It is front and forward of the cranksets, not too low to where it's going to be a hindrance. We weren't impacting it on lots of rocks and kind of overgrown, rutted out trails that we ride a lot of here in Central Oregon. Something that you may note when you look at the bike kind of up close is the alloy bash guard or skid plate that is highly ventilated. Also how exposed the motor is and the vents. That is something that Cannondale took into account when designing this motor. Obviously electronics get hot. The more they're used, the hotter they get, and that will significantly reduce the amount of power, torque, and range that you get out of the unit. We bring this up because this bike is powerful. We actually reached out to Cannondale and asked them if they worked with Bosch to get some sort of a custom tune or some sort of special tuning software to make this bike powerful. So we've got time in a lot of different Bosch equipped bikes, and this bike is regularly leaving the others in the dust. Apparently there's something to be said for heat management, because Cannondale said other than focusing on heat cooling off this motor, they didn't do anything special when it comes to tuning. So props to Cannondale, and we're excited to see where heat management goes in the future. The bike has a 66.5 degree head tube angle, 75 degree seat tube angle, a 470mm reach on our size large with a 629mm stack height. The chainstay length is 450mm with a bottom bracket height of 362mm and an overall wheelbase of 1,247mm. Did find very interesting, and we make a habit of not looking at charts, graphs, numbers before we go out and ride bikes. Obviously, we've ridden lots of bike with 66.5 degree head tube angles. Something just seemed different, and after our second ride of kind of feeling something weird going on in the front end, we discovered that Cannondale is actually using a 51mm offset fork, something that's very different from a lot of the brands that are currently running 44mm offset forks. While there were some trade-offs in the descending, transitioning from corner to corner at speed, we felt that the climbing, the precision and steering, the nimbleness were really impressive on this bike. On the Moterra, we're able to just thread the needle. We can stay in the trail, we can stay seated, we can keep the power down. And another big factor of that is the 160mm FSA cranks. The difference in 5mm is incredible. It kind of surprised us, to be honest. We didn't think it'd be that big of a deal, but we're able to pedal this bike and drop friends on bikes behind us with similar geos just because we're able to pedal through rock gardens, out of corners quicker, up hills into rocky technical climbs, just because of that extra 5mm of clearance on those crank arms. It is a mix of NX and GX Eagle components on the drivetrain. To be honest, for the $7,000 price point, it would have been nice to see a little bit nicer spec. You may have noticed these large brake rotors, 220mm front, 203 back. That is part of the Magura MT5 brake system. Actually, we're really excited to try out these big, powerful rotors and 4-piston brakes, but discovered that they weren't quite as powerful as we thought they were gonna be. We reached out to Magura and they asked what color were the brake pads in the calipers, and when we told them they had blue backing. All right, so Magura's blue pads are their lower friction, longer lasting pads, so that was the giveaway. So we reached out to Cannondale and asked them why they chose to spec a lower friction brake pad in a 50+ pound bike. Felt that a lot of people getting into e-bikes in this market may be, not quite expert level riders, more on the beginner, intermediate level of rider. And they didn't want to risk having too powerful of a brake that could cause someone to crash or skid unintentionally. Magura was kind enough to send us a new set of rotors and their performance line pads. We swapped those out. I think I'm not grabbing that brake hard enough. Made a really cool video actually documenting the difference in stopping performance from 20 to 0 miles an hour. Check it out, we will link it below. We were able to take off about 2 feet of stopping distance in a 20 to 0 stop test. And the improvement on the trail has been night and day. Cannondale's done a very good job of kind of walking the line and creating a bike that's not purely designed for, downhill fiends that want to self-shuttle themselves, but creating a bike that is equally fun to go up as it is down. So we didn't want to get too far down the rabbit hole of how the bike rides. We only had the bike for a few weeks, so we're still learning it. We're still getting everything dialed in. Overall, our impressions are really quite good, actually. We like the bike. Again, it's not ideal for probably the most extreme of riders that are looking for something just to shred the steepest, gnarliest trails, but it is very capable if you do want to do that. The power, the speed, the 160 crank spec makes it a blast to climb the 51 mil offset with a slightly steeper head tube angle, threading the needle if you live somewhere with switchbacks, tight rock gardens or roots that you're trying to weave your way through. Absolutely killer bike. Overall, a very efficient platform. Bike runs well, Geo's capable. We're really excited now that we've got these new brake pads in there to spend more time getting this bike on the trail, beating it up a little bit, and reporting back to you guys in the future with a full review. So we'll catch you guys out on the trails. Thanks.